Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by country singer and songwriter Eric Diamond. Eric has been singing since he was 15 years old. He's done a lot of jobs and been around and been very successful in the music industry. So we're going to be talking to him about his career and how and why he got started and everything that he's up to. So Eric, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'll just start with I started singing professionally at the age of 15. I had always loved music. I grew up in a home where there was a lot of music played, and my sister was a piano player, and my brother was a theatrical singer. And I landed my first professional job at the age of 15. I started singing in some of the local bars in the Santa Fe, New Mexico area, and in the bars around Durango, Colorado as well. At the age of 15, I made it to the state finals of the Jimmy Dean Country Showdown. Then the following year, at the age of 16, I made it to the Charlie Daniels state finals, Country Showdown. I worked in weekend bands and throw together bands from age 15 to 21. And then I landed my first job working with a road band called Cowtown Swing that was based out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. And the band leader was a gentleman named Bobby Francis, who was a steel guitarist that had worked for John Conley during the rose-colored glasses era. I worked with that band for 5 years. Then two of the band members left to pursue other endeavors separate from music. And I thought it was a good time to pack my bags and move to Nashville. So I spent the summer working with a guitar player named Dave LeDuc, who had gone to GIT, the Guitar Players Institute of Technology out in Hollywood. And he had worked with a major act, a gentleman, also a friend of mine named Jeff Johnson. And Jeff was with either Atlantic Records or Eris. I honestly can't remember. But they were opening for Merle Haggard, Gene Watts, and just about everybody that was big at that time, which would have been in the mid to late 80s. Or late 80s, I guess it would have been. So I packed my bags, moved to Nashville, lived in Nashville for a year. A lot of good things happened. I made some incredible connections. Ended up living with two very successful, huge songwriters that at the time they were just starting out. But I lived with Win Varble, who's been an astronomical success now and has made piles of money, I'm certain. And Gerald Smith, who everybody in country music knows, was another one of our friends. I was there when he wrote a song every second, every minute, every hour of every day. And that song went top 10, and his first royalty check was $87,000. I remember that. That stuck in my head as one of my favorite country music stories because there was four of us living in a low-income apartment. And we were all there from just two boys from Georgia, a guy from Navasota, Texas. And I had moved from Southern Colorado to chase the country music dream. And so, I ended up landing a songwriting deal, which I wasn't even a songwriter really. I'd written a few songs, but I was more of a live performer and a singer than anything else. I landed a songwriting deal with a lady from the television show Hee Haw. That was short-lived because I had family matters back home that I had to leave Tennessee and head back west. And for 2 years, I played some music and I kept my chops up, but I ended up being a high school basketball coach for 2 years. And then a gentleman named Dave Blanchard, people that know him, he went by Bond Dad Dave, and he passed in the last year and a half, but he had a band called the Midnight Rose Band. And he called me and said, "Hey, Eric, we've got 27 nights booked, and our lead singer packed his bags and left in the middle of the night without warning and headed back to Louisiana." He said, "We need some help. Are you interested?" And I said, "Absolutely. I'll be there Monday," because it was a Friday night when he called me. So I packed my bags and headed up to Colorado to meet up with the band. They were primarily playing in New Mexico and Colorado at the time. And 27 nights turned into 3 years. And from there, I ended up working for 1 year as an in-house entertainer. I started out as a security guard. Within a week, they'd moved me to floor manager. And then once they discovered I was a singer and a dancer, I was an in-house entertainer, and I got to perform with all these traveling road acts, bands like Little Texas, Lone Star, several bands like that were on the rise, and were just fulfilling their club obligations. And so I built a huge Rolodex of musicians. And over the 12 months preceding that, I put my own band together, and we called the band Eric Diamond and the Rocky Mountain Playboys. We ended up right away. We had a huge local following, and it just expanded. And by the time it was all said and done, we were working in 11 state region and had 13 national agents booking us. We were just about to go into Canada. We had an agent that was going to send us into Canada. And we had 2 cruise lines, Carnival Cruise Line, and I can't honestly remember the other one, that were wanting to put us to work. But my father came down with cancer, and I came off the road. I squared away all the musicians. Because I had a facility where I would bring in musicians from the East Coast to the West Coast, and we could all live on this property. I had a little horse farm and 10 acres, and it had facility enough to house about 6 guys. And so I told everyone they were welcome to stay as long as they needed to or wanted to. And Paul Bucks was the guitar player at the time. His father had played for Ernest Tubb. He landed a job immediately in Louisville, Kentucky. Our drummer landed a job, our bass player landed a job in Phoenix, Arizona, almost immediately. The pianist stayed in my house for about a year, which was great because it gave me someone to keep an eye on the place. And he just did solo work. And the drummer stayed for quite a length of time. Then he ended up getting a great offer and moved to Denver and ended up working with Fiddlin' Frenchie Burke and Sammy Kershaw and some others. So anyhow, at that time, I thought my music was over because Nashville's policy back then was they wouldn't sign anybody over the age of 35. And really what they were looking for and what they were signing was 21 to 26-year-olds. So I thought my music was over. I was actually okay with that. I'd had a 22-year run. A lot of my dreams had come true. A lot of my experiences were things on my bucket list happened. So I was actually comfortable with it. Didn't think I'd ever get back into the music business. But 15 years ago, a friend of mine took me to Bob Wills Days in Turkey, Texas, which was something that I always wanted to go to. It's a huge music festival. I recommend anybody and everyone go at least once in your life. Everybody that I've ever gotten to go to that thing gets hooked, and they attend every year. But the Texans almost instantly embraced me. They found out I was a singer. They noticed me as a dancer first, and then everybody wanted to know my story. And then when they found out I was a singer, immediately they had me on stage. And I've been singing at that festival now for 15 years. And it led to a lot of other things. A Hall of Fame fiddle player named Grady Smith, who I met at Turkey, he got myself and a friend of mine that was my steel guitar player from Bristol, England, a guy named Larry Bressington. Most people know him as Chappie. He got the two of us to join the Western Swing Society of the Southwest. that really changed my life. I got connected with guys that had played for George Strait, Ray Price, Hank Thompson, Carl Smith, on and on. They really, were very kind to me, and it appeared they liked what I was doing. And they made me believe in myself again. So things started rolling about 7-8 years ago for a strong comeback. And then last year, I'm kind of skipping a few things because I know it's already been a long story. But last year, I ended up winning the Western Swing Male Vocalist of the Year by the Academy of Western Artists. And I had an album that finished tied for second for Album of the Year. So 8 days later, I mean, that was the best day of my life. Something I never even fathomed happening, and I know that it was all God. But 8 days later, things got even better. I had 2 Nashville record labels ready to sign me, and a third record label definitely showing some interest. I ended up signing with a record label called Clarksville Creative Sound, primarily because of the producer. The producer is Kurt Ryle. If anybody doesn't know who Kurt Ryle is, you should do a Google search. But Kurt played 23 years for Ray Price and Gene Watson. He was the band leader for 14 years at the historic ballroom in Dallas. He played and toured with Vern Gosdin. He was on the Legends tour with Loretta Lynn and George Jones. He worked with many of the biggest stars in country music. Then he moved to Nashville and became a producer, and he's been a producer down there for, I think it's 17 years or so. But his resume is unreal. He produced a gold record for Mel Tillis, 2 gold records for Gene Watson, 2 gold records for Vern Gosdin, 2 gold records for Billy Ray Cyrus, a gold record for Trisha Yearwood, a gold record for Leanne Womack, 2 gold records for Dean Dillon, and many other artists. He also wrote, I believe, 18 number 1 songs. He's written a number 1 for George Jones, the king of country music. He also played guitar on Taylor Swift's Platinum album, and he played steel guitar on John Anderson's seminal Wind, which went gold. So I was thrilled to be working with him. I was thrilled to be on this record label. We cut a new album titled Eric Diamond, All of Me. We did the world premiere radio release on May 13th, which aired 8 times in 6 different countries. We did that with KSSL Radio out of Lubbock, Texas. And then on May 15th, we released it to all worldwide radio. The album spent 8 weeks at number 1 for Album of the Year on the Indie Express charts, and is currently at number 4. It's also in the top 10 on 5 additional international country music charts. And we were notified about 8 weeks ago that it is the most played Western Swing album on radio in the world. The album was nominated for an IWMA award, which is the International Western Music Association. It's been nominated for an Ameripolitan Award, and I also have been nominated for an Ameripolitan Award for Western Swing Male Vocalist of the Year. The album is also up for the Red Carpet Awards in the Netherlands, over in Holland. I'm very thrilled. It's a great album. It's available on all music platforms worldwide, or people can get a hold of me on Facebook. You can friend me. You can follow me. You can send me a private message on Facebook if you're interested in buying either a CD or a thumb drive. We have a double album thumb drive. You can go to YouTube and listen to the album for free tonight when you're done listening to this radio show. Type in Eric Diamond, All of Me, and you can hear the number 1 Western Swing album in the world being played on radio right now. And I hope you like it.
Well, man, that's great. Congratulations on all those awards. You definitely answered a lot of the questions I had for you. But one of the questions I do have is, who are some of your biggest influences that you like to listen to, or you like to follow to get your juices flowing?
Well, I had a lot of influences growing up. My mother and father, I grew up with Johnny Cash being played in the house, Merle Haggard, Johnny Horton, Jim Reeves, Patsy Cline, George Jones, Tammy Wynette. But my biggest influences And what I loved, I got turned on to Bob Wills music, and I'm surprised at how many people don't know who Bob Wills is. Bob Wills created the only, or one of the only American, truly American music forms, Western swing. And he is both in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and in the Country Music Hall of Fame. That's why I'm shocked when people don't know who Bob Wills is. But that's definitely my favorite style of music. I've had Ray Price. People ask me all the time, who was your favorite singer? And I love so many of them, but Ray Price, if I had to choose just one, would probably be my all-time favorite. Also, a very big Faron Young had a lot of influence on me, and one of my favorites, as well as Marty Robbins. My favorite band in the whole world that's still going strong today is Grammy Award-winning Asleep at the Wheel. And then there's a lot of other Texas stars that are all heroes of mine, and I've performed with many of them. I'm at many of the same festivals that they are at. I consider all of them my friends. Some of us are closer than others, but Jody Nix, Billy Mata, Jake Hooker, Tommy Hooker, Chuck Cusimano, Kelly Spinks, Shane Vanderveer, Rocky King, Jeff Woolsey. I hate to do this because I hate to leave anybody out, but I'll tell you, the music scene in Texas is truly second to none. Even when I lived in Nashville, which was 31 years ago, I've been back several times to record and whatnot, but when I lived in Nashville 30 years ago, 80% of the very best of the best, whether it be performers, singers, or instrumentalists, it seemed like the large bulk of them came from Texas. I mean, there's talent everywhere. I'm not knocking anywhere else. There's great talent from all over the country. But Texas music, they take it so serious, and the kids start at a very young age. Like I grew up in states where, being in the band wasn't really considered a cool thing. In Texas, they're held in high esteem, and I think that's a big reason why Texas music is so incredible. But those, I guess, are my biggest influences: Ray Price, Faron Young, Marty Robbins, and of course Bob Wills. Bob Wills' music is my number one influence. My favorite singer would have to go to Ray Price, with Faron Young and Marty Robbins being right in there with them. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, tell us about any upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to know about.
Well, the All of Me album is brand new. The previous album is Eric Diamond, They Call Me a Playboy. It's available on all music platforms as well, and it has done extremely well. I mean, none of this would have happened if it weren't for that album. We sold over 13,000 units of that album without being on a record label, without the album being in stores, without any help from anyone. We sold 13,000 plus records out of the back seat of a pickup truck. Now, obviously, I'm working with a Nashville record label. The new album, in my opinion, is even much better than the first album. And, it seems like that's the consensus with all the award nominations and so forth. But it's a tremendous album. It really is. Kurt Ryle's a genius producer. We wrote some great songs that are on the album. It's a 12-song album. So, and it's selling very fast. Actually, it's selling at a much more rapid pace than the first album. And so we are going to be doing a third album. I'm already working on material. Songwriters from all over the country have been sending me material. We're going to do another 12-song album. So I'm looking for songs. If any of you songwriters have anything that you consider Western swing, send it my way and we'll give it a strong consideration. But I found some songs. There's a songwriter named Lee Browning. I don't know the man personally, but I've talked with him multiple times. Guy from Texas, originally from East Texas. He's living down in Nashville. He wrote a song that the minute I heard it, I was like, this is going on the next album. We're going to be recording a third album in 2024. There's no doubt about it. because the All of Me album is selling so fast and so well because I didn't know if we'd do another album or how long it would be, but we're definitely going to be in the studio in 2024 doing a new album. I perform, currently I'm performing mostly in Oklahoma, Missouri, and Texas extensively, but I've also performed in Tennessee this past year. The record label is talking about doing tours from South Florida up into Canada. We're doing concerts. They're talking about concerts once a month in Fort Worth, Texas. We're going to be doing some shows in Houston. Currently, there's a promoter that's working on getting me at the Houston Livestock and Rodeo and the San Antonio Livestock and Rodeo, which those are some of the biggest rodeos in the country. So I would absolutely be thrilled to have the opportunity to play at those events. I will be doing some Opries in South Texas in January and February. I'll be singing 3 days in Wichita Falls in March with the Western Swing Society of the Southwest. They have 5 big events a year, and I perform at all 5 of those. So I'll be in Lawton, Oklahoma in July. I'll be in Wagner, Oklahoma in November. I'll be in Amarillo, Texas in September. I'll be in Springfield, Missouri. I believe that's in May. And it seems like work just keeps coming in. So we're ready, willing, and able to go anywhere in the country. So hopefully we'll be in a town near you soon.
Absolutely. And how can we keep up with you so we can keep up with everything that you're up to?
The best way right now to keep up probably would be to either look at the Western Swing Society of the Southwest, look at their website. I recommend joining. The membership's only $15. And if you're a member, you get into every event for only $5. Plus you get a huge discount on lodging, hotels and such. And you get a newsletter 6 times a year. You can follow me on Facebook because all our big shows we definitely will put on Facebook and announce that. Oftentimes, if listening to your local country radio stations, you'll find where we're playing. But I try to let everybody know on Facebook when we're doing events because we are doing some festivals in Colorado and New Mexico as well. So that'll all be announced on Facebook. Is probably the best way. And following the Western Swing Society website, you can certainly find out when those events are because I will be performing, and I usually do a show a day for 3 days in a row at all those events.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so keep up with Eric Diamond. Make sure you pick up his new music, support him, check him out, follow, rate, review, share this episode to as many people as possible. If you have any guest or suggestion topics, cjackson102@cox.net is the place to send them. As always, thank you for listening. And Eric, thank you for joining us and letting us know everything that you've been up to.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it, man. You have a great evening. And folks out there in Radio Land, don't forget, go to YouTube tonight. Type in Eric Diamond, All of Me, and check it out. I think you're going to be surprised.
Go do it, ladies and gentlemen. For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.